So in the last video, I mentioned that Reform had a really bad day. And I'll link it at the end of the video if you haven't seen it yet. And I was quite surprised in that video that Lee Anderson hadn't made the cut, because he just generally hadn't done anything silly yesterday. So I'm feeling a little humbled, because he must have watched that video and thought, hang on a second, there can't be a video about Reform having a bad day and I'm not part of it. So he must have said, now then, here lads, hold me beer. Sorry, that's a really bad accent. There was a defence budget debate today where the Prime Minister has announced that reducing the foreign aid budget from 0.5% to 0.3% to increase defence spending from its current 2.3% to 2.5% by 2027. So the Prime Minister made a speech, and whenever the government is talking about Russia and Ukraine, Reform don't seem to be about. Stephen Flynn of the SNP called this out by stating Putin's poodles can never be found. He didn't actually mention any names or any party, he just gestured in the direction of the empty space. But as you can imagine, Lee Anderson took this as a personal insult, and he tried to make a point of order of it, and actually got told off by the Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Aside from a few of Putin's poodles who are not in their seats in this chamber here today, we are of course united in our support for the people of Ukraine, and indeed in wishing the Prime Minister well in his discussions with the President of the United States.
During the debate on defence and security, the leader of the SNP described Reform UK MPs as Putin's puppets, and that they were missing from the debate. This is not true. I was present for the Prime Minister's statement, left for a comfort break and returned for the rest of the debate. In fact, I've been in this chamber now nearly 4 hours today. Funnily enough, when I returned to the chamber, Madam Deputy Speaker, the leader of the SNP or none of his MPs were actually present. The leader of the SNP has misled the House and should apologise if you can find him.
I'm grateful for the honourable member for giving notice of his point of order. However, that point of order was slightly longer than what he provided notice of, and I no doubt he's also let the member know that he was speaking about him. And the honourable member should know that it's not appropriate to be accusing other members of misleading the House. Now, as ever, it is vital that members on all sides maintain good temper and moderation in debate.
So as you can see from his response, it's not gone too well. It all kind of spilled over to X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it. And he actually gets called out again for getting the insult wrong. Because if he was there, he would have known that the insult was poodles and not puppets, as he thought it was. Now, I will actually be fair with Lee Anderson. There is some truth to what he says. You can see from the picture here that he was at the very start where he claims to be, and he listened to the Prime Minister's statement. He's obviously gone by the time that Stephen Flynn speaks, but he does actually come back at probably about at least an hour later. You can't really see because of the way he sits and where the cameras are pointed, but he is there towards the end of the debate. And finally, Reform's Director of Communications, Christopher Hope, GB News is a political reporter. He thought it would be funny comparing the Prime Minister to Nigel Farage, only for the Prime Minister to make him look like a fool. And you call this journalism.
In July, Reform UK fought the election on a policy to increase defence spending to 2.5% of GDP by 2027 and 3% of GDP after 2030, funded by a £6 billion saving in the aid budget. You said you'll do similar. You'll increase defence spending to 2.5% by 2027, 3% after 2030, funded by a £6 billion cut in the aid budget. Are you Nigel Farage in disguise?
Nigel Farage didn't even turn up to the debate in Parliament today. Nigel Farage is fawning over Putin. That's not patriotism. That is not what working people need. What I've done is take the duty of Prime Minister seriously, which is to ensure that our citizens are safe and secure, and this decision is made to ensure that they are safe and secure. It is a decision intended to ensure that we fight for the peace that we've enjoyed for the last 80 years, so that for generations to come they can enjoy the freedoms that we have enjoyed. So I've taken this with only one thing in mind, and that is the citizens of this country.
This was a nice bookend to the video from yesterday of Reform having the worst day ever, which you can see that's on the screen right now. So go watch that next. Don't forget to hit that like button, and I'll see you in the next one.